In 2022, I did a lot of dating. So in this video, I'm going to go through and I'm going to list the 10 things that I learned from all the dating that I did. This is relevant to men and this is relevant to women as well. Number 1, your looks really are the most important thing. So this one's shallow, this one depresses people, and this is something that's discussed everywhere online. Plain and simple, when it comes to modern dating, your looks are going to be the most important thing. Think about it, right? How does most dating take place? Online, dating apps, social media. These are the most common ways that people are meeting nowadays. And we're basically left with a scenario where your online presence basically acts out as your CV and acts out as your resume. This means people are judging you on the way that you look and the way that you come across online. I know a lot of modern dating coaches will tell you that if you send the right first message, you'll be guaranteed a reply. And if you write the right things in your bio, you're going to be guaranteed a reply. This is not true. If you want to be successful in this modern dating age, you need to understand that your looks are going to be the most important thing. Number 2, most women are completely unaware of the average guy's struggles in the dating world. So, if you ask most women, they're pretty much clueless to what the average guy faces. They don't realise that the average guy on most dating apps is probably getting 1 match per day, maybe 2 matches per day at a push. And they tend to think that because they get so many matches, the average guy is getting the same amount of matches. This plain and simple is not true. The average guy is struggling, the average guy is getting ghosted, and the average guy is not even getting close to the amount of dating options that the average woman is getting. This is also as well why YouTube commentators like Just Pearly Things and some of the other red pill YouTubers have really come into popularity. They are giving the average guy a voice because the average guy feels completely unheard. Similarly though, the average guy has no idea of the average woman's struggles in the dating world. So I actually have a very high opinion of women, and I've actually really enjoyed the amount of women that I've met and some of the interesting conversations that we've had. But what I tend to hear from most women is that whilst they have a lot of options, the options that they get are generally pretty poor quality. And when I say pretty poor quality, I don't necessarily mean looks and status in the world. I generally tend to mean pretty poor quality in terms of the way they conduct themselves. I've spoken in previous videos about the idea of objectification theory, and that basically works on the ground that a woman feels pretty much subjected to just being her looks and nothing else. And I think this is what women generally tend to experience. The vast majority of women are open to meeting you, and the vast majority of women are open to meeting a guy who has something to offer them. The problem is they get jaded, they get frustrated, because they go through the effort of trying to portray themselves in a way where they can meet that guy, and all they get is messages of a sexual nature. Messages asking to see their body, messages asking to see their ass, messages telling them all the things they want to do to them. And I think some guys think that women enjoy that, and I think some guys actually think that women should be flattered by that. But the reality is that if you're not the clout-seeking, OnlyFans type of woman, that is not what you want to hear. You want to feel valued, and you want to feel wanted for things that go just beyond your looks. So I think unfortunately, a lot of guys cast a lot of their own self-doubt and a lot of their insecurities at women without actually realising that this is not a fun or fulfilling experience for any woman. And this then means that both genders don't really like each other. So I heard Chris Williamson reference in his Modern Wisdom podcast that we've basically created an adversarial relationship between men and women. And this basically comes out in the form of both genders constantly trying to one-up each other. Both genders constantly competing as to who has it harder, and both genders constantly going back at each other and then back at each other again in response. This is completely unfulfilling and this is completely unrewarding. But I would actually argue that this is the world that we're in, and unfortunately where men and women come together is in the dating game. And this tends to mean that the dating game is largely demeaning for both, because neither gender really likes each other, or neither gender really wants to celebrate the other gender. So the adversarial relationship plays out constantly, and it plays out in person, it plays out in dating apps, and it actually plays out everywhere. Every time a man and woman comes out, that adversarial relationship comes out. This also means that politics is now way more important in dating than it ever has been before. I personally think that some of this has come from COVID, and I personally think that some of this has come from more people spending more time on social media than ever before. But the reality is now is that political agenda and political leanings massively matter way more than they did several years ago. I have genuinely gone on dates where topics such as pro-life and pro-choice have come up, topics such as BLM have come up, topics such as feminism and the gender pay gap have come up. And this is stuff that you would never normally expect to discuss on dates. It may be something that you discuss further down in the relationship, where the two of you were really at a point where you were getting to understand each other and getting to know everything about each other. But now this is at the forefront of people's minds. These are things that are shaping the way a lot of people think, and these are things that are shaping the way that a lot of people handle themselves and a lot of people reflect themselves in the world back. Levels of promiscuity are the highest they have ever been, and despite these levels being the highest they've ever been, it's not working for either gender. So I am pro-monogamy. I've never been pro-hookup culture, and I think it massively impacts on both genders negatively. But what I am really seeing is just how much of a hot topic the body count discussion is. I would actually probably say that about 33% of discussions online in the whole manosphere and in the feminism sphere relate to body count. It is highly discussed, and it is something that people really place a lot of value on. However, whilst it's something that people are placing a huge amount of value on, it's not something that's working for either gender. This is the lowest the mental health rates have ever been, and this is just generally the most unhappy people have ever been. So whilst promiscuity may be going up, people are not going up in happiness with it as well. And then following on from that as well, more people than ever have anxious attachments. People just don't know how to relate to each other. People really nowadays, when they come to date, feel that they need constant validation, constant attention, and constant love in order to feel worth it. This contributes to the levels of promiscuity for sure, and this also contributes to the amount of people that want love, attention, and thirst on social media. The unfortunate thing though about anxious attachment styles is that they never ever really become secure if you continue to act out in your anxious state. So it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think unfortunately as well, more people than ever need therapy, more people than ever need support for their mental health, but less people are going to go for it because they are getting their anxious attachment needs met via social media, met via dating apps, and met via promiscuity. And this then means that for a lot of people, their self-worth massively ties in to their dating success. I coach a lot of guys, and one of the things that I tend to find with a lot of guys is they fluctuate between extreme levels of self-confidence, almost to the point of narcissism, and then that is then coupled with crippling low levels of self-doubt, cripplingly low levels of anxiety, and often at times cripplingly low levels of depression. And this is because they place all their value and all their emphasis on how attractive they can be to women. Similarly as well though, from speaking to women, I know that women do something similar, and they tend to do this because they know that if they feel low, there will always be a guy there that will give them attention. This may not be a guy that they're interested in, but they know that because they're female, and assuming that they are somewhere around average, there will always be men that are prepared to circle them. So women then find themselves in a state where they're consistently talking to guys that they're not interested in because they need those guys around them in order to feel good. You cannot take advice or you cannot discuss dating with people that have been out of the dating game for any longer than about 2 years. It has changed beyond the point of recognition, and it's actually kind of laughable when you talk to people that haven't been in the modern dating game because their perception of what it is so warped and so based in a past that's not even close to what it is now. Most people that haven't dated in a while genuinely cannot see how different it is, and that basically means that these are people that you cannot take advice from because whilst they may come with the best intentions, they just won't understand it, and you'll probably end up feeling more frustrated than anything based on their dating advice. Both genders are beginning to turn on each other. I remember several years ago, solidarity between the genders used to be a bare minimum, and we've now not only gone past that point, we've now got to a point where because both genders are so frustrated by their dating experiences, they're beginning to turn on each other, throw animosity on each other, and judge each other more than ever. This is basically like a civil war, and it's crazy that we've got to a point, but I actually think that this is probably one of the biggest takeaways that I've had. People just aren't complimentary about each other in the same way, and I think you see this online. It is crazy when I go through manosphere content how much I see men insulting other men. And it's also crazy as well when I look at podcasts that have women on it, just how much women are attacking other women. And again, it links back in some ways to what I said about the political divide, but I think it just links back to the frustration because nobody is happy, nobody is feeling they're getting what they want, and nobody is really feeling that supported. So rather than coming together, people are stepping away, and that step away is resulting in conflict. And that's it. The 10 things that I learned from my dating. I'm going to caveat this though by saying that I personally believe that there are still fantastic people in the world. There are fantastic men and there are fantastic women. So don't get too negative in terms of everything that I've said. I just think it's important to be honest. And I just think as someone that's had a lot of exposure to it, I have insight that will be valuable to a lot of people. But with that being said, no matter what you're looking for, I am confident that you will be able to find it. So don't give up, keep believing in yourself and you will definitely find it. If you like this video, please can I ask you to click like and subscribe down below. And if you really liked it, I am also offering one-on-one coaching at the website also down below. But as always guys, take care and I will see you all in the next one.